Hello, this is Overlord Boat, and I'm back with SAT score, and today we'll be doing a ship highlight reel on the Schlieffen. Fighting check will be in the Druid, and SAT score will be in the Vampire 2. Let's look at the build for the Schlieffen real quick. So the Schlieffen the whole line runs a very interesting build where you run the Pyrotechnic, IFHE, Adrenaline Rush, Concealment, Superintendent for the extra heal, the manual secondaries, and the secondary range. You need the IFHE to get all the secondaries at 32 millimeters. And since this ship does have Russian DCP, you need to run the Superintendent for the extra DCP. For the modules, I'd recommend you run armament, sonar for the slot 2, auxiliary for the slot 3, propulsion for slot 4, consumer for slot 5, and I know it says manual right here, but if you're doing this particular strat we'll be going over, you want to run manual, you want to run the secondary module here in slot 6. And let's head on back, and we're going to watch the replay. And I'll let SAT score start us off.
Alright, so you might be interested in why I chose the Vampire 2 in particular. So let's go over the basics of both ships. So Schlieffen. Schlieffen is the new German Tier 10 battle cruiser that's going to come out pretty soon. It has just been released from NDA, so only CCs are allowed to display the ship for now. So some of the highlights of the Schlieffen includes having excellent secondaries, in which why Bo went with a full secondary build. Combined with her concealment is about 12.6 kilometers, I believe.
Yep, that's correct.
And then her secondaries reach out to 12.5.
Yep.
So that means there's only a 0.1 kilometer difference between when she's detected and when her secondaries can start firing. So, and for me, the reason why I picked the Vampire 2 is because she has the crawling smoke. Vampire 2, one of Vampire 2's defining gimmicks is that she can have a crawling smoke that operates for over 2 minutes. This is very similar to the Tier 7 Haida. So, when you combine the two, so my Vampire has about 5.8 surface detection. As you can see here, I'm positioning myself right in front of Bo. In this case, for our triple diff, we do have a Druid. You can run a destroyer or another cruiser. The third doesn't matter quite as much, but I believe the destroyer will help the most, just for the spotting. So we're taking care to go around here, and in a few minutes we'll show you what this particular strategy is trying to do. For the vampire build, it's nothing really special. You're mainly there for the crawling smoke. So as long as you have Superintendent and Concealment Expert, you basically all of the normal Vampire 2 skills, then you're fine. Also, what would help here is, since there's no CVs, it allows us to position more aggressively, since we're not too worried about being prematurely spotted. This match also happens to be pretty favorable to us because we have 5 battleships and 3 cruisers to farm. 4 destroyers is a bit higher, but it's okay. So we've already sighted our first victim, the Conqueror. So I've already taken up a spot about 2 kilometers ahead of Bo, and right now I'm communicating with him. So right here, Bo is detected, and this is when I start my smoke. And here's the fun part. So I will go at full speed while I will go at quarter to 3/4 to full speed while Bo will be going full speed. So you can think of it as a super angry. For those of you familiar with Napoli, one of her gimmicks is having SAP secondaries and fuel smoke. So in theory, she could actually run full speed at her enemies with her super angry secondaries firing. Now let's put this into practice. What if you gave the Schlieffen, one of the best secondary ships in the game, a fuel smoke? A 2-minute fuel smoke while we're at it. Since the secondaries do not increase the gun bloom, you see Bo is holding his fire. He's completely undetected in smoke. I'm simply I'm the train conductor and I'm charging directly at the Conqueror. And you can see how much damage both secondaries are doing. So Bo, can you explain to us why you're not firing on the poor Conqueror?
Pretty much the point of what SAT score and us are doing is we're letting the secondaries, which are the strong point of this ship, go to its fullest potential. And if you fire your main guns, you'll be giving away your position since there's a smoke penalty, you'll be giving away your position when it's better just to not get spotted, because you're trying to use that moment of panic when people aren't sure what's going on to pretty much get them in a shock or a surprise, so you're able to farm as much damage as possible. Now, that Des Moines did try to radar us, but he underestimated how far away we were, and we were able to stay outside his radar, so the Conquerors weren't able to shoot us. So we were able to read the situation, stay far enough away from that Des Moines so he couldn't radar us, and make sure that we were able to survive. Now, if you do encounter a radar ship while you're trying to do this, you are going to have to focus it as quickly as possible. But if it's a shorter timed radar, you are able to kind of endure the radar and then just melt it down later. These secondaries, since they do have 32 millimeters of pen, can pretty much melt any cruiser with ease. And it can pretty much melt just about anything. These secondaries are insane, as you'll be seeing the results at the end of the battle. But I'll let SAT score continue us off.
All right. So of course, there's two main types of radar. You have the 12-kilometer radar carried by the Russian cruisers, and then you have the 10-kilometer radar carried by the U.S. heavy cruisers. I guess technically you also have the light cruisers with 9 kilometers, and then you have Salem at 8.5. The 12-kilometer radar, you can usually tank 1 or 2 shots. The Nevsky is going to be your biggest problem, since by the time you encounter him, he's usually in a kiting away position and trying to run away. So you have to slow down and wait for him to expend his radar while he shoots at you. Stalingrad has a 20-second radar and is a lot easier to endure. You just have to dodge 2 of his salvos, which is fairly easy to do as the destroyer. And he typically has AP loaded, so that's not a worry either. For the US cruisers, it's more about the general positioning and just staying away from the 10-kilometer radius. If you can do that and keep him spotted with something else, then you can easily melt him with the Schlieffen secondaries, since he is covered in 30 millimeter plating. So, just looking at the damage counter, Bo has fired about 600. He's landed about 600 secondary shots. He's already at 176k damage. I don't. Remind me. So, in theory, you could try this with other ships like the Curvers, but do you want to tell us why people generally have not done it with the Curvers yet?
The main reason why this doesn't work with the Curvers is due to the fact of how large the concealment on the Curvers is. I believe if you build into a Curvers concealment, it has around a range of about it's around 13 to 14 kilometer detection range, I believe, if you build into it. Which is very, very large. I think it's more 13 and a half to almost 15 or 14 and a half.
It's either 13.5 or 14.1.
Yeah, it's around that number. While this ship has a 12.6 kilometer, and its secondaries are at 12.5. So the thing is, the moment this thing is spotted, you are going to get inside of its secondary range. While the Curvers, you have about 2 kilometers or 3 if you build full concealment before you get inside the secondary range of the Curvers. So it has too large of concealment to really be effective. While this new beast, the battle cruiser line of the Germans, you can do this with the tier 10, you can do this with the tier 9, a little bit with the tier 8, But the other ones in that, it's not worth it to do because the secondary range doesn't match up with the concealment. But technically, this kind of build can work with any ship that has around the same secondary range as their concealment. But the reason why this works the most is because the dispersion on the secondaries are by far one of the best in the game. And these secondaries are about 1.9 times the firepower of a regular curve first. So pretty much you have 1.9 times the secondary power on this ship, let's say, as compared to a curve first due to its accuracy. And if you have Lucians on the ship as well, plus your adrenaline rush, these things just, it's non-stop, just DPS powerhouse.
So while the Vampire 2 kind of like steers the Schlieffen and keeps it on track, the Schlieffen just lets loose with the secondaries. And it actually, it seems to resolve one of Schlieffen's main problem. Because a lot of people seem to like focusing Schlieffen. Not sure if it's because Schlieffen's weak or because she is newly released and everyone loves to shoot newly released ships. But regardless, Schlieffen is not touchable just because she's hidden in smoke. Vampire is not detected because she's running full speed at, with 5.7 kilometers. You literally have to be another destroyer or have radar in order to find the destroyer. So in this case, it creates a 34 knot secondary monster that is charging at your ship. That 34 knots will outrun almost every battleship, most cruisers, and even a few destroyers if they are caught unprepared.
Yeah, this ship does go like 35.8, I believe, if you put
With the
with
speed
the
flag.
speed flag. So with that speed flag, it goes so fast. It's so perfect. I love it.
Just imagine two invisible GKs charging at you. You can't do anything about it, while your ship literally melts in front of you. That is what it feels like to face against this kind of div.
Yep, it is so deadly. So let's show the battle results. So the total damage of the match was 345,587, 25 main battery hits, 5 torpedoes, 3 kills, 1,037 secondary hits. That's a lot of secondaries, and it's only 7 fires too, which is due to the IFHE. Now, I only did 2,172 base, pretty much because I was just farming the 2 Conquerors, the Verma. I didn't really get to do that much as in the team there. I was mostly doing a lot of like killing. But now let's look, and this is the best part here. Look at this. This is where like you do not see this number a lot at all, except on this new line. Look at that damage number. 224,000 secondary damage. And that is all within 10 minutes of the match. And we did 1,037 secondary shots and 2,986 shots total. Which means these secondaries have about a 33%, about a 33% hit ratio, which is incredible for secondaries. These kind of numbers are unseen in these older ships. This is something that secondary lovers will love, because look at this. Imagine a few years ago telling battleship players, hey, guess what? In a few years, you're gonna have a ship that does more secondaries than main battery damage. And everyone would just start laughing at this kind of thing. But look at this. It's actually worth it to depend more on the secondaries than the main guns. In this build, of course. But even when I do play this ship normally, I usually have more secondary damage than main damage, because the guns are kind of more tier 9 level on how good they are. So they don't really perform well all the time. But it's just insane. Now, is there anything else you think we should add to their SAT score?
I don't think you ever used HE on your main guns, so if you combine the fires, you actually did about 252k damage total.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's just insane. But again, if you guys want to try out this technique, and what do you want to call it, their SAT score?
Uh, I don't have any formal names for it, but I was thinking a couple of witty names like the Schlieffen plan and the Blitzkrieg strat.
Yep, that definitely sounds pretty fit for it. But yep, if you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely leave them down below. But this is Overlord Bow and SAT score, and we'll talk to y'all later.